Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shannon Scott with Grave Talks, coming to you live from Magnolia Cemetery in Mobile, Alabama. This was founded in 1836. It's kind of comparable to a Bonaventure in that it's 150 acres or so. And although there were some earlier burials here, most of the general cemetery institution begins in 1836. Fabulous cemetery. Hats off, Mobile, Alabama. What a treasure. And I know there are others here in the city, but this is a beauty. Just get lost for days. And of course we see Kelsey McGee, cemetery wonder dog, whose favorite word is cemetery. She's enjoying a bowl of water because it's a hot summer day. Say hello, everybody. Hey, I'm Kelsey. And sorry about that. I think we got interrupted by a phone call. But this story of the Knott family, N-O-T-T, really caught my attention. From the perspective that it's about a dog mourning the loss of 4 children, all who died in the same week, and ultimately the dog who is not recorded in name, or there's no name documented, as the newspaper here in Mobile cited, it pined itself to death. But before we touch on the dog, or kind of get into that story, this is a story of a family of great achievement with connections to the yellow fever fight of the 19th century, the Civil War and the loss of sons in the Civil War. And it's really about, in a way, 2 parents, surviving the death of 6 of their 7 children. And in some respect, it's the end of the genealogical line for the family, because the one child that did survive of the 7 never married or had children of their own, or at least, to any recorded knowledge. So it kind of reminds me, and this is sort of maybe a strange comparison to make, but it's like, when parents worry about their children going out, at night, or just, off for camp for a week or whatever it is, I'm reminded of the historical worry, when there was no easy communication. So it's like, if your children were far away and something happened, you might not learn for a while. And, I don't know, just it kind of points back to parents and the nurturing and the love of their family and their kids and all that stuff. But it's also a great plot, the Knott family plot here, in that it's a story that can almost be told through the art within the whole headstone collection. Not obviously the dog is powerful, but there's all kinds of stuff happening in the plot artistically that really points back to the love of the family, the suffering of the family, and so forth. So let's kind of start with some of the characters. We'll come around and begin with Dad. Josiah Knott, medical doctor. He was born in Columbia, South Carolina, 1804. He died in Mobile in 1878. And he went to medical school in Pennsylvania, where, of course, they had their own history of yellow fever, other epidemics. He did some medical training in France for a time. And then he became really Mobile, Alabama's specialist in yellow fever. Now, in some respect, he was 50 years ahead of, let's say, Walter Reed and some of the discoveries he made connected to mosquitoes. But there was no real cure yet. So Josiah Knott developed I would say, an evolved system of patient care, like end-of-life care, in terms of, a specific routine to address all of the emotional, spiritual, suffering needs of the patient. But, they all kind of knew the inevitability was death. But yeah, he was a forerunner in that end-of-life patient care, along with being quite a scientist, or as a physician. And then we find his wife's name here on the side of the monument, Sarah Diaz, who was from Camden County, South Carolina. She was born there in 1809. She died in New York in 1883. This monument with really the 2 swords, one inverted, one pointing towards heaven, the crossing of the swords with the Olympiad wreath, not open to the skies but pointing down, shows a kind of a mourning idea, but also a warrior idea. These are the headstones of the 2 sons, Henry Knott, and I think maybe James D.S. Knott, possibly John. I'm not sure. There's just an initial here, but they died during the Civil War itself. So They represent the death of, let's say, child 5 and 6 in a sense, and the 7th one lives on, as we mentioned, and has no children. But Dr. Knott began his real yellow fever studies, or I guess getting deeper into that, which would have a lot of meaning for him, in 1850. And 3 years later, he and his wife, they lose 4 children in 1 week. They all die the same week, 1853. Now, 2 of them, and I think this monument was raised in the early hours to memorialize the children's deaths, because there are 2 headstones really here for the children overall. This one, even though we see 4 cherubim, carved in the front, the facade there, we'll come back to that. We only found the names of 2 children here: Emma, who was 10 years of age, Edward, who was 19 years of age, and then just beyond the dog, we have a headstone for Sarah, Alice, and then her brother Alan Hugh. And Sarah was 3, and Alan Hugh was their newborn, in effect. I mean, not newborn. He was a year, 7 months, and 22 days, as the Victorians would get that specific, sometimes right down to the hour. But so we have 4 cherubim representing the 4 children who all died the same week. We see the mother clasping her breast, looking skyward, heavenward. She is also floating. She is, her spirit probably wants nothing more with the earthly life. So I think we kind of see that as, she's their angel. So there's a spiritual implication there. But I think she's also, she feels like her purpose, what's left for me? I've just lost 4 children. So, I mean, talk about an irony, right? A man who devotes his life to yellow fever, they lose 4 children from the very disease. Wow, just unbelievable tragedy. But that brings us around to the dog, too, who, again, no record accounts for a name. There's only a statement that the dog was memorialized in bronze. There is no, as far as I know, indication of a sculptor or which foundry cast it. That could be out there, so if anybody knows, please comment. But it was noted that while the 4 children were sick, this dog refused to leave the children's bedside. The dog stayed at the foot of the bed the entire time. And when all 4 of them died or passed on, this dog's whimpering was so intense, like anybody close to the whole situation just talked about the unbelievable grief expressed by the Spaniel. And within a week, this dog, as the newspaper accounted, pined itself to death. So this dog died of a broken heart, and now is here loyally watching out over the children, and obviously the whole family now. Wanted to show you one final thing on this headstone for Sarah and Alan, the 2 youngest of the 4. It's another expression of grief. We see this, clearly weeping mother. We find some probably inverted mourning roses here. That would be my guess. We see the pillar of strength. We see the classic urn with the half veil to show sunrise, sunset, death, and resurrection. The poem is a little illegible, so I apologize, but it's very poetic and talks about the caskets and the caskets that molder here. Let's see, I can't quite make out everything, but it was carved by J. Turner. That's interesting. But yeah, it's really a family story told in the art. And it's obviously a tragic family story, but one that's very noble and heroic. And, what is more noble and heroic than the faithful dog, who too was so impacted by the pain of the loss, died of a broken heart. God, that just leaves you speechless. But that is the story of the Knott family, gang, from Magnolia Cemetery in Mobile, Alabama. By the way, if you're taking the tour, which is a self-guided tour in Magnolia, this is number 11 on the tour if you're looking for it. There's some other references here, like the great tree, and there's some other pillars, a couple Rock of Ages statues hanging out. But this is a beautiful site, beautiful cemetery. So again, I salute you, Mobile, Alabama, for this beautiful place and having such wonderful stories and wonderful art inside of your lovely Magnolia Cemetery. Well, I'm off to Savannah next, and it's been nice sharing the road trip with you guys. So thanks for watching. Please check out Grave Talks with Shannon Scott on YouTube, and we'll have in the next 2 or 3 weeks some great videos from our trip, including 2 new episodes of Grave Talks itself from New Orleans. So you guys take care. Many blessings on you and your family.